We're going to get there eventually. I promise we will. So, last time we were finishing up with some vermilion. Now we're going to take that little bit of brownish mineral orange, kind of dampen down this color a little bit, and just lightly stroke it in any old direction you want to over the entire shebang, with the exception of your highlights. And that just kind of tones down some of the orange so it doesn't look quite so Halloween store-ish, like plastic pumpkin kind of thing. Not that there's anything wrong with the Halloween store. I love the Halloween store. It's my favorite place on earth. But if you don't want your pumpkin looking like plastic, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And finally, we've got our pumpkin orange for our shadows. So I'm going to go in fairly heavy on this bottom corner here. And we're going to pull up on our pressure, ease up on it a little bit. Go in these little lines here, which are kind of the dips in the pumpkin. So now you'll notice in the shadows we've had 3 or 4 different colors that we've laid down. Down in here, down over here, and this dip here. But you'll notice this pumpkin, he's still kind of light. He's still kind of funky looking. He's still got highlights that are vastly different from his regular color. So, and don't ask me why it's a he, just because I said so, I suppose. So, what we're going to do next is we're going to take this orange again, one of our mid-tones, and we're going to go back over the whole shebang, but we're going to go at a 180-degree angle to where we want to go. It's kind of hard to do one-handed, so forgive me if I'm jumping around a little bit here and my paper is kind of moving on me. You're even going to put this mid-tone very lightly over your highlights just to unify it all so that there is one particular color that is kind of coming through as the majority color, but then you've got these slight, subtle little variations here, and sometimes not so subtle. And basically, the thing to remember with color pencil, it's the same thing as with painting. It's the same thing as with airbrush. It's the same thing as with glass blowing, and it's the same thing as with graphite drawing. And yes, I've tried my clumsy hand at all of these. In every case, stained glass, all of it, every case, what you're basically doing is you're trying to just keep on working it until you're satisfied with it. You're just going to keep on going and going and going until you get what you like, and at that point you stop. And I know that sounds kind of simplistic, but it really is the truth. If you look at a lot of these videos, or a lot of these people who are doing much better work than I'm doing, by the way, who are doing just this excellent portraits and whatnot, you'll notice the big thing that they all have in common is that where a lot of people would kind of stop and say, well, there's no way this is ever going to look like that. Oh my God, it's just not going to happen. These people keep on going and going and going and working it and working it and working it until eventually they do get what they're looking for. It's all a refining process, basically. It's just keeping on getting the fine details until you get it right. Now, the final step toward burnishing, which is the technique we're about to use here to kind of pull all these colors together. Of course, you saw we just used that one color over every single part, highlight and shadow. That's going to help unify. But the big deal is our nice little white pencil here, which my camera is not able to focus in on properly. It has an automatic focus, so there's nothing I can do there. But basically, this white, we're going to come in over the top of this, and this is why I made it a little bit darker than what I want it to turn out to be. You don't have to make it severely dark. It doesn't have to turn blood red or anything, but just a little bit darker, because this white is going to kind of affect what it comes out as. And there's different ways that you can burnish. The basic idea with burnishing is you need enough pressure to push the pigment together. That's essentially what you're doing. This is the part that will wear your arm out faster. So I'm going to try on these little color swatches here. You notice if you go light, this is with light pressure, it will kind of push the colors together, but you're going to have to kind of work at it. And the longer you work it, the more white you're putting down, the more chances that it's going to turn a lot lighter than what you want. And the more that you work it, the more chance that you're going to get that dreaded wax film or wax bloom that people talk about. Yeah. If you go too heavy, it basically kind of whites it out. So you want a nice little middle of the road pressure, where you notice this one in the middle here, it's got a lot more of its original color, but it is kind of more unified. You do get some of these white lines and white spaces in the paper out of your final product. Now there are optional ways, sorry I stuttered a little bit there, there are optional ways that you can actually do this burnishing. One way is if you know that, as with our pumpkin here, you mostly went in one direction with your pencil. I mostly went up. Yeah? You can either continue that, or you could quite purposefully turn it on its side and do the opposite way to kind of push those lines together, which is what I think I'm going to do. I'm not going to burnish this whole pumpkin on video, because obviously, with the problems that I've been having with the timing and blah, blah, blah. But this is essentially, oh, well, I guess it would be nice if you could see what I was doing, wouldn't it? Essentially, this is the easiest part of the whole ordeal. You just take your pencil, medium pressure, go against the grain, and keep mushing it together until it turns out to be what you want it to be. You might want to take some caution whenever it comes to areas like this, where you do want it to remain in kind of an up and down orientation, and just go those areas in the direction of the actual pencil strokes. So, I'm going to put you guys on hold. As you can see right now, hopefully, as you can see, we've got a lot of white spaces in between our strokes here, especially over here where the pigment is darker. And I'm going to put you on hold, and I'll bring you back in a second. Maybe.